Today our group will be discussing caste differentiation among honeybees. Our group members are Jeff Mathis, Jasmine Mendoza, and Kayla Leitcher. I will be discussing the drones. First off, their physical features. All drones are male, fertile, and have eyes twice the size of workers. These extra large eyes actually help the males find the queens when they are trying to mate in the drone congregation areas. The drones have larger bodies than workers, but smaller than queens. All drones lack stingers, pollen baskets, and any glands used to perform a task. So this means the sole job of drones is to fertilize the queen's eggs, which will actually lead to the drone's death. And then any workers that are not able to mate with the queen will be removed or die off before the winter months because they will take up extra space and resources in the hive. Drone development, they'll stay in the egg phase for 3 days, larva stage for 6 days, pupa stage for 14 days, and then after the 23rd day, an adult drone will emerge on about the 24th day. About 60% of all drone eggs will survive to become adults. The drone cells are usually larger than the workers and found on the edge of comb. The drone will then perform orientation flights about 8 days after emergence before they are sexually mature, so they can get a feeling of their environment before they go out and form drone congregation areas. Mating. Drone congregation areas are formed when waiting for the virgin queen to make her mating flights. These drone congregation areas are just large swarms of all drone bees waiting for the queen. These congregation areas are usually located 10 to 40 meters off the ground, within a diameter of 30 to 200 meters away from the hive, and in open areas where the queen can easily be located. Mating usually only lasts about 5 seconds, and only about 12 drones will get to mate with one queen. Drone genetics. Drone eggs are laid unfertilized, so they are born haploid and only have 16 of the regular 32 chromosomes. Diploid drones are actually unwanted in a hive. They're born homozygous, and it's due to random mutations or inbreeding. These diploid drones are then removed from the hive by the workers, usually within hours of them hatching.
Worker bees. Worker development. So honeybee workers take 21 days to develop from an egg to an adult. They are females, just like queens, but are facultatively sterile. They cannot mate, however they will produce drones under certain circumstances. They are also smaller in size than drones, and queens have pollen baskets on their hind legs and a stinger on the end of their abdomen. Their wax and hyperpharyngeal glands develop, and as adults, their tasks change as they grow older. Responsibilities. Workers are differentiated into behavioral groups due to age polytheism. Once they come out of their cell, their cuticle hardens and they begin cleaning cells to prepare them for the next eggs. When workers move on to the next task, they can become nurse bees or part of the queen's retinue. The retinue takes care of the queen, while nurse bees tend to the brood and provide them with food. Food storage. These middle-aged bees have many different tasks that they could perform. The tasks that the general population perform are comb building, food storage, hive ventilation, patrolling for work, and grooming. More specialized tasks include hygienic behavior, which remove the sick, dead, or infested brood, undertakers, which remove dead bodies from the colony, and guard bees, which patrol the main entrance of the hive and defend against intruders. Worker bees become foragers from 21 days until their death. They will acquire all the necessary resources for their hive, which include water, pollen, nectar, and propolis.
So I'm going to be presenting the queen bee. So she's pretty easy to recognize in the hive. She's one of the biggest bees there. She's usually up to 2 centimeters in length, and she has more of a pointed abdomen, unlike the other bees who are sort of rounded. And her stinger does not have barbs. She's usually surrounded by a retinue who are constantly grooming and feeding and spreading her pheromones around. She won't have a pollen basket because she's not going to go out to forage anything. And she's usually sort of walking with her legs splayed out because of just her size. And she lives 3 to 5 years. So there's about 3 reasons why a new queen's going to be raised. Either it's time to swarm, the original queen is killed or she's just failing in her duties. And beekeepers can go in and enforce the procedure by doing something like cutting off one of the legs of the queen so she's unable to actually lay eggs properly. But when this does happen, the workers will go in and start to raise larvae to bee queens by feeding them royal jelly. And this will work on larvae that are less than 3 days old, and they'll raise multiple bees as queen just to make sure that something comes out in the end. And the first to emerge is the queen, but if multiple emerge at the same time, there's either something like a fight to the death, or maybe there'll be queen piping, which usually happens during swarming, and the one who comes out first will pipe to the other ones to say she's there, and if they come out, she's going to kill them. Or the workers will try to separate them if there's multiple queens out at the same time. Whenever there is a new queen, what happens to the old queen is something called balling or cuddle death, where all the workers sort of swarm her in a way, and either she's stung to death or she's overheated. So there's the question of what is really making them into queens. And it's usually said that it's the royal actin that's in the royal jelly. And there has been a study done on fruit flies that showed when they were given this, they possess traits of queen bees, like being larger, more fertile, and living longer. But they also had to have a protein called EGFR present in order for this to happen. But then there was different studies, like one showed that they did not have to have royal jelly given, but just had to silence a certain set of genes, and this produced a queen. And then there's some who said it's what's not in the royal jelly that caused them to be queens, because other larvae who are fed more than just royal jelly are fed stuff that has phenolic acids present, which cause smaller ovaries, which is why they can't be queens. But the ones who are raised on just royal jelly don't have that present and don't have that effect. So the first 2 days, the queen is spent roaming the nest and hardening. The third is her orientation flight. About a week after she emerged is her mating flight. And then about 2 weeks later, she's laying eggs, and she might lay about up to 2,000 eggs a day. And the majority, about 50% of queens, mate once in their life, and they'll just go out and they're going to mate with multiple drones, like about 5 to 20. And after this, she has around 5 million sperm in her spermatheca, which can last her life. And there's been a study that shows that queens who are inseminated by multiple drones have lower disease intensity and thus a higher colony strength.